All right, so you're a coach right now. You're trying to figure out how in the world do you scale up your coaching offer or maybe your high-ticket service. And you are probably aware already of paid challenges, paid bootcamps, or maybe webinars. And you're trying to figure out, like, which one's best for me? What's the differences and which one should I do if I do one of these or maybe both of these? So today we will be diving into the world of both of these sales processes. We'll talk about some pros and cons of each and ultimately how to know which one is right for you. Fully transparent, I do run paidevents.com, soldOutEvents.com, paidchallenges.com. I love the paid side of things. However, there is still a time and place for the webinar model. So I will try to be as unbiased as possible on this, just giving you guys some lessons on how we've been able to scale so many different info organizations or education companies to multi six figures. But ideally, I mean, we've had a lot of different people hit 7 figures and even 8 figures. So here's some lessons that we've learned. And once again, pros and cons of each. So let's go ahead and jump on in. So first, starting off with webinars. Webinars are, the main differences here are that webinars are going to be free one day or not even one full day. It's usually like a 45 to a 90-minute long presentation. So webinars here, let's just start kind of writing out what they are, and then we'll talk about, obviously, once again, pros and cons of each. So webinars are going to be free to attend. They're going to usually be 45 to 90 minutes long. And ultimately, what they are going to be used for would be either booking calls for your high-ticket service, or you could send people straight to a checkout page. So when we put CTA, we're going to have to say like book call with no price drop. So this would make sense if you're charging like $5,000 or more. You're probably not going to want to reveal your price on this webinar unless you know beyond a shadow of a doubt you have the right people on this webinar. If you have a lot of people that are, they have lots of money, they are people of affluence. If you know for a fact they're there, great. You could totally lead with the price. You could say the price either in the webinar or on the application to then book a call. But oftentimes, because it's such a short presentation, you're going to have a harder time price conditioning and really shifting as many of their beliefs as possible, kind of invoking enough pain and getting them in a spot where they're ready to just fork on over their credit card. And so oftentimes you do need an additional sales conversation to work through some potential objections they might have in a one-on-one fashion. So usually book call, and I'm going to say no price drop, assuming, once again, you are probably selling something that is over $5,000. However, if you're selling something under $5,000, here is where webinars get pretty fun, pretty interesting, right? So you can do straight to checkout. Now, if you go straight to checkout, you would typically do $2,000 or less. So we're just going to say $2K or less. Now, if you're at $3,000 to $5,000. Hot take on this. You're charging a really weird price. And it's not like you're not doing anything wrong, but in general, I don't care if you're selling on a sales page. I don't care if you're selling through a webinar, through a paid virtual event. Typically, anything $2,000 or more, people are significantly more resistant to paying on their own. They usually need a little bit more persuasion. They need a little bit more, kind of talking them off the ledge of, thinking about all of their doubts or limitations for why they shouldn't buy this. Like they usually need to talk this through with someone or be in a little bit of a longer environment, maybe in an all-day long event or a multi-day event. That's a bit different. But in a 45 to a 90-minute presentation, it's very, very tough to get people to just pay you $4,000 straight away on a checkout page. You're usually going to have a pretty low conversion rate on those webinars. So if you're at that, let's say $3,000, $4,000, even $4,500 price point, I would encourage you, just increase your price a little bit more. Get to $5,000, maybe even $6,000, and just have people book calls with you. And you'll find that you'll probably have almost the exact same close rate on a $5,000 or a $6,000 price point as you would a $35,000 or a $4,000 price point. There's really not much of a difference because at the end of the day, people only buy something if they feel that thing or the offer is worth significantly more than what the price point is. Easiest way of explaining this, just as a quick side note on this, if I offered you a $100 bill right now and I said, hey, I'd like you to Venmo me $100 and I'll give you my $100 back. You'd be like, okay, maybe, like I might do that once, like I guess for the fun of it, but like you wouldn't want to do that all day long with me. That would be an absolute waste of time because you're no better off for exchanging your $100 for my $100. You wouldn't even want to do that if I said, hey, I'll give you $101 for your $100 and I'll sit back and forth with you and do that all day long. Because at most you're going to make, $10, $20. Like that's not a great use of your time. The only time that becomes a great offer for you, if I'm offering maybe $200 or $300 in exchange for your $100, in that case, you're like, yeah, I'm happy to do that. But if you gave me $100 and I give you $300 back, you're only doing that because you're getting a lot of profit in that. There's a lot of upside. You're getting significantly more from me than what you are giving me. Meaning, if I said all of a sudden I'm raising the price to $150 for you, and I'll give you $300 back, you're still probably going to happily do that because you're significantly better off. So same thing, if you're selling an offer, I don't care if you're in the financial space, I don't care if you're in a relationship space, the health space, the mindset space, I don't care what kind of niche your offer is in. If you are charging, call it $4,000, you could probably charge $5,000 or $6,000 without much of a decrease in conversions. Anyway, side note aside, let's move on. So those are just a few things that you want to think through webinars. Now, I'd say one of the other things that people don't really think through all of the time is the way of which you run webinars. Okay, so when you're running a webinar, if you really want to do these things pretty effectively, the people that I know that are crushing these, like we're talking doing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars per month from their webinars. Oftentimes, I even know a few people that are doing over $1 million a month from their webinars. They are doing them twice a week live. Every single time. I know you're probably sitting here thinking, no, there's no way. I'd want to make this like an automated webinar. There's no way you're getting me to record twice a week, every single week. If I'm telling you that I can name on more than two hands people that are doing over $1 million a month doing webinars, do you think that those 8-figure organizations, the owners of them, are wanting to spend 2 hours or 2 different sessions every single week doing live webinars? Or do you think they would rather do automated webinars? Of course, they would rather do automated webinars. They are busy and they respect their time greatly, probably more than you do, completely honest. However, they are only doing them live every single session because they have tried automated webinars and they don't work near as well as live. Okay, automated will never convert as well as live. I've yet to be proven wrong on this. I've been in the industry for almost 11 years. So if you're wanting to do these things well and get great conversions, you've got to run them live. And why do you think they're running them twice a week rather than once a week? There's a couple reasons for this. It's because when you're promoting your webinars, you can't do 3-week-long promo periods because since they're free to attend, your show rates are trash. People at max get 20 to 30% show rates on their webinars. And that is only if you are doing very short promo windows, because if someone signs up 3 weeks prior for a free training, the likelihood they show up is slim to none. So usually the sweet spot for promoting a webinar sign up is usually around 2, 3, and at max 4 days long. But I have seen the data drop off from show rates from people that will sign up 4 days prior to a webinar versus 3 days versus 2 days. And it's significant. So if you really want to maximize your show rates and you want them to be closer to 25 or 30%, the longest promo period you're really going to be able to maximize is around 2 or 3 days. So we're just going to say 2 to 3 day long promo windows. Okay. No, I wouldn't say this is a pro or a con. I mean, it's whatever you want to think of it as. But if you think about it just logistically speaking or logically speaking, if you're going to do a 3-day long promo window, that means that at max, if you want to run ads all time, all throughout the month, that means that you really are going to have to run about 2 webinars every single week in order to continue to keep your ads running, continue to get new leads in the pipeline, and continue to make sure that you're not having kind of surges of revenue and then dropping off. You have to do them on a very consistent basis. Or if you want, you could do 1 webinar every single week. There are people out there that teach that and promote that you should do 1 webinar every single week. But if you pay attention to the results of those, you usually have to keep turning on and turning off your ads. And if you know anything about meta ads, no ad campaign works very well if you're turning on and turning off ads every 2 to 3 days. Ideally, you want to let them run a little bit longer. You want to let them be able to gather some data, continue to learn, go through the learning phase, learning cycles, swap new creative, and you just can't test all that much within a 2 or 3 day promo window. So really, the only way that you're going to continue to learn, get better with your ad promos and everything is if you are running them evergreen, running your ads evergreen and just swapping out the dates on your webinar. So, pros and cons. If you have the time to do roughly 2 webinars a week, every single week, amazing. This could totally work for you, especially if you have a great sales team, if you have a fantastic sales team that can take calls all day long and they can really work through a lot of financial objections. Webinars are fantastic for that. Because you can get a lot of booked calls, but the people are going to be they're still going to be a little skeptical. They're still going to, you very likely will have to get through sticker shock and price shock with some of these individuals. You're probably going to have to work through a little bit more objections. Like, it's not going to be necessarily a lay down close. You might have heard people saying the term like enrollment calls versus sales calls. These are sales calls, okay? They are not lay down enrollments from your webinars. So I know a lot of people that are doing these. These are just lessons that I'm just trying to hand down to you. I'm not trying to be biased or anything. I'm letting you know before you start to learn the hard way. You're going to want to be really, really good with selling from stage or selling in a one-to-many environment. Because if you only have 45 to 90 minutes long, that's a very short amount of time, if we think about it, to introduce yourself to an entirely new cold audience. This is someone who's never known of you before other than maybe a 60-second ad they saw of you on Meta or on Facebook or on Instagram. They saw the ad, they're like, okay, interesting. They pop in their burner email address that they really are expecting is going to kind of go to spam, and they might show up. And if they show up to your webinar, they're going to be pretty skeptical. So you got to be pretty good and very efficient at warming them up, getting their guard down, shifting their mindset in a few different ways, showing them a new way of doing things, depending on what it is that you teach, giving a lot of social proof, showing that you don't just talk the talk, but you could walk the walk, reframing how they look at investing in things, also reframing their urgency and solving the problem that it is that they have there. Also probably insinuating more pain that they have, so that way that also kind of gets them to move a little bit more. You're also going to have to reframe, or not maybe reframe, but maybe recast the vision or the desired outcome that they have, and show them that you really understand what it is they're trying to accomplish. And then you still have to, in a smooth but subtle way, roll into a pitch to then a call to action, whether it's go buy right now or go book a call with us. And then you're going to have to have a lot of incredible follow-up systems and everything as well. So they're fantastic. Once again, know multiple people that are doing 7 figures a month doing webinars. So just few pros and cons. I'm not even going to tell you what I feel is a con versus what I feel like is a pro. I will say, though, what you can expect, you're looking at roughly 10 to 30% show rates. If you want to financial forecast this out, I highly encourage doing that. You should always financially forecast out any campaign before you ever run it. So 10 to 30% show rates. It depends if you're doing a pitch to a book a call or a pitch to a checkout. But if you're doing a book call, you should be looking at somewhere around 10% of a conversion rate, maybe 20%. I'll be generous. If you're fantastic, maybe you're getting 10 to 20% call booking rate. And then if you're going straight to a checkout, or if you are price dropping, usually people are having roughly a 1 to a 3%, close rate from the people that are there live. So those are just a few things to keep in mind. And then obviously it's going to be very cheap, or relatively cheap. I'm saying cheap in comparison to if you're selling tickets for like a paid virtual event or challenge. But anyway, cheap CPAs, or I should say CPLs. Cost per leads. And that's just to get people to sign up. But once again, let's say that you have a $10 cost per sign up, and only 20% of the people show up, that does not mean that you're paying $10 to get people to sign up. Or I'm sorry, $10 to get people to show up. It actually means that you're paying, what is that, $50? I think it's like $50 to get someone to actually show up. So anyway, put this into a financial forecast sheet and you'll be able to figure out if this could be profitable for your organization or not. Need great sales team. Now we have, I'd say, overall efficiently covered webinars. Now let's talk about how webinars are a little bit different than virtual events or challenges, and then helping you decide which one is best for you. So virtual events and challenges. I say and challenges, these are oftentimes used interchangeably. I'd say that one of the main differences is that oftentimes when people think about virtual events, they look at them as being all day long events. And it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna spend 8 hours with us today and 8 hours with us tomorrow. We're gonna have a bunch of speakers. You could do that. I would look at those more as summits than events, but potato. I am more of a fan of I guess you could call it, technically speaking, the challenge model, where you're ultimately going live for about 2 to 3 days, maybe 5 days if you're really feeling hog wild and crazy. And when you're going live, you're only going live for 1 or 2 hours a day. And so you personally, as the founder of the business or as the offer owner, you are the one that is actually spending the time with the customers, spending the time with the attendees, because that is real estate. If we think about it, just call it what it is. It is digital real estate in front of your target customer's eyes. And people right now are very skeptical of buying coaching offers. They've had enough people screw them on over or scam them or deliver ChatGPT, YouTube-based coaching that's just like honestly not very good. It's not very in-depth at all. It's not transformational at all. There were enough kind of fly-by-night coaches that did that in 2020, 2021, 2022. And also, the economy is not as great as it used to be in call it 2022 as well. And so people are more skeptical. And so we have to, as the offer owner, understand that and work with it. And so that is why a lot of people do like to do challenges or events, because you as the offer owner get to spend more time with your target customer, not just to shift their beliefs. Like, you absolutely should do that. But this is also just a fun time to be able to develop relationship with them. It's crazy that in 2026 right now, we're going back to the old principle of know, like, and trust. You have to be a human, believe it or not. And you have to, instead of hiding behind perfect ChatGPT copy, or instead of hiding behind some sort of a perfect little YouTube script, you have to actually show people that you are real. It's okay if you fumble over your words. It's okay if you don't have a script. It's okay if you don't have a perfect slide deck. This is the opportunity to show your audience that, hey, I may not be perfect, but boy, I can walk the walk, and I'm an absolute expert, and I can absolutely help you achieve the result that you're after. And so that's one of the things that you want to take into consideration. If you're not an absolute subject matter expert, I honestly don't recommend the paid virtual events or the challenge model, because people will be able to sniff that from a mile away. Also, if you don't have a heart to genuinely serve your customers, this might sound crazy, but I don't recommend doing this. I say it might sound crazy because, like, what do you mean I don't have a heart to serve my customers? I unfortunately have to say it. Like, all rules are made because someone broke them at some point. Someone gave you a reason for why you have to say the things that you do. One time we had a client, I will not name him because he doesn't deserve the credit to be named. He doesn't deserve the exposure. But we helped him do it was a virtual event, and he wanted to help married couples. And let's just say this, we sold a ton of tickets to the virtual event. And he went live and he sold, he had multiple five figures of sales. It wasn't quite what he wanted. He was hoping for hundreds of thousands of dollars, but in profit, he had multiple five figures in sales. And I remember afterwards, he mentioned that he didn't make any money. And I said, what do you mean you didn't make any money? He's like, I only had, it was like, I don't know, $25,000 or $30,000 or something in sales. He's like, so that wasn't enough to be worth my time, so I just refunded everyone. It's like, okay, you clearly cared more about the money than you cared about the people. Like, these people's marriages genuinely needed help, and you just refund them because it's not worth your time, even though you don't. Anyway, that's besides the point, but you have to actually care about people. And genuinely, the reason why I think that event did not convert as well as it could have is because people can sense he cared more about the pitch. He cared more about what was in it for him than he cared about actually helping them. Please take that into consideration. If you're going to do this, you have to be a person that genuinely cares about your customers. Whether you only get one or two customers from your first ever event, or you get 100 or 200 customers, you got to have a heart to serve these people, because they'll be able to sniff it from a mile away before you even give your offer, if you're in this for the money or if you're in this to actually help them. Let's go ahead and move on with kind of naming this out though. So let's say 2, 3, or 5 day events. So ultimately, these are multi-day experiences. Okay, multi-day experiences. Additionally, these are usually paid to attend. You can do free challenges and you could do free events, but one of the biggest pros that is in the paid is that you will have a significantly higher show rate. We've tested out dollar price points, $7, technically $1, $5, $7, $9, $11, $17, $27, $37, $47, $77, $97, $147, $197, and $297 tickets. We've tested pretty much all of it. We've obviously also tested out plenty of free events as well. Every single time you charge at least $1. Typically, your show rates go up to 50% on the small end, as high as 75, even 80% if you're charging a little bit more, and depending on your promo window and your audience and everything. So I would usually say paid attendance, and we're just going to say 50 to, we're just going to say 80% show rates. On the paid attendance, I'm just going to say, honestly, like our absolute favorite is $7 to $9. Reason why, by the way, is a lot of people think that they should charge more money because they want to charge or they want to attract people that are more affluent. And I understand the thought process, but if you think about it, like when they think more money, they're usually thinking they should charge $97 because that's what their favorite guru is doing. But if we think about it, $97, technically speaking, a person that's absolutely broke that can afford a $7 ticket can oftentimes stretch themselves and still afford that $97 ticket. Doesn't mean it's a good investment for them, but they can still stretch and buy that $97 ticket. And the person that is truly of affluence, they've got, a multi-million-dollar net worth. Do you really think that a $97 ticket is going to all of a sudden make them more financially qualified than a $7 ticket? No. Sure, you might get a tiny bit higher show rate, but I've got the data to prove that it is a tiny bit. We're talking from we have plenty of people that charge $7 or $9 for their tickets, and they'll have a 75% show rate. And I know someone else that's charging $97 for his events right now, and at max, he's getting around an 80 to an 85% show rate. It's not much better at all. But you have to think about people say we're in a trust recession. So if we're trying to earn trust, the biggest barrier to entry in a paid model is them giving you their credit card. And so it's easier, no matter if someone has a lot of money or if they have no money, it's easier to get them to say, you know what, I'll give this a shot if it's cheaper rather than more expensive. So it's not about, this qualifying them to spend more money. Because once again, the person that can afford a $7 ticket can still usually afford a $97 ticket. This is more so about making it a low enough price that they are willing to pull out their old credit card, the old 16 digits on their credit card, and put that in, because that's going to increase their show rate. And then you earn their trust through the actual event. So that is where you can reframe them, reframe their beliefs, all of that good stuff. But if you try to charge a higher amount, you will have a lot of people that simply are too skeptical to even buy the $97 ticket. It's not because they can't afford it. It's because they're not just trying to give $97 to Joe Schmo, who they just saw a 60-second ad from, a minute ago on Facebook, who they see you only got 2,000 followers and you've got no real brand behind you and they've never heard of you. So they're not trying to pay $97 for your random event that's going to be inconvenient for them to make the time to carve out on their schedule anyway. But $7, that's about the cost of a, venti cold brew from Starbucks or something. It's not that big of a deal. So I digress. Let's move on. So 50-80% show rates. Now, the cool thing about these paid events is or the challenges is that when you give your offer towards the very end of the event, you spent more than one day with these people. If for you, it might not seem like a big difference. If let's just say on the shorter end, you do a 2-day virtual event. I think that's one of the easiest places to start is a 2-day virtual event. If you go live for 1 hour on Monday and live for 1 hour on Tuesday, for you as a presenter, it's only a 2-hour presentation. And it's pretty easy. It's a natural thought that usually comes up to say, well, why would I not just do that on a 1-day event instead and just do 2 hours on the same day? And it's because it's not different for you. You are still presenting 2 hours regardless. But think about it like this. If you can go present some really thought-provoking content on day one for 1 hour, and then you're off, getting some mimosas by, your favorite cocktail bar or something with your wife or with your husband or whatever. You're out at dinner that night, totally unfazed and unbothered by the fact you gave this 1 hour presentation at noon that day. But all of a sudden, you've got 100 people or 200 or 500 of your ideal prospects that saw that presentation, and they are literally losing sleep for the rest of that day. They're literally replaying certain things that you told them in their head for the rest of the day, thinking, man, I didn't realize that this new way was even a thing. I didn't realize that this could actually be the way that I can get the results that I've been after for so long. And this person just changed the way I thought about this and this and this. And man, I've got so many open loops and I can't wait for tomorrow's presentation for them to kind of help me put all of this together. It's kind of like, you're watching your favorite reality TV show. If you're into those, at the end of every single episode, they'll always say stay tuned for scenes on next week's episode. And then they'll always give you some teasers for the next day. And you're like, man, I didn't even care about watching the next episode, but now I gotta see what happens because it seems like there's a lot of drama and there's a lot of open loops that need to be closed. And so now they come to your day 2 presentation where once again, you're going live for your 2nd hour with them, but they feel as if they've just spent the last 24 hours with you because they've been replaying everything you've said in their head for the last 24 hours in a row. So by the time you give your offer, we're now 25 hours into the lifetime of being with these people, right? You went live at 12 p.m. on a Monday and you're giving your offer towards the end of the 12 p.m. session on Tuesday. So maybe this is now hour 25. You've actually spent almost 25 hours in these people's brains, not 2 hours, even though you have only spent 2 hours presenting. That will immediately, even if you're not the best salesperson in the world, immediately get through the inevitable, I need to think about it objection, or the wow, this feels fast, like I'm not really sure. Because these people have been selling themselves in the background if you set up your content correctly. And by the way, fully transparent, if you want help with this, please reach out. Do not pay the dumb tax or the dummy tax and figure this out the hard way. If you'd like some help with actually structuring your event and making sure this thing is likely to convert and making sure that you are shifting the 5 buyer beliefs that need to be built within the course of any presentation, whether it's a webinar or a paid event, a multi-day event, maybe even, you're pitching from a real stage in person here soon. Go to paidevents.com, go book a call with either myself or someone from my team. We'd be more than happy to talk about how we could help you craft a presentation that will sell your high ticket offer to the masses. Okay, I digress. Once again, let's go back into this. So now that we're talking about like, hey, you're building more into this know, like, and trust factor with everyone, now you're likely to have a much higher conversion rate, even if you're not an expert at pitching from stage. Okay, so there's 3 different call to actions you could do on these things. You could have a little bit more fun with these because once again, there's more know, like, and trust factor. So first offer, if we talk about CTAs, the first one is a free call. Not saying your first one will go this way. If you're going to do any of these, whether it's a free webinar or a multi-day event, you should be doing these consistently month over month so you could continue to get better. It's just like going to the gym. You don't just go do one workout and all of a sudden you have a night and, like an overnight transformation on your body. You might be sore the next day, but you're not going to see any results. You've got to continue to get better at these and continue to rehost them because you will find there are small little things you continue to tune up within your presentation to get higher and higher conversions. You're going to become a better presenter. So anyway, free calls. Now, ideally, you get to the point with a free call. Let's say that you don't do a price drop and you just say, hey, we've got multiple ways we could help you. I'm not going to give you an offer today because I don't know who you are and I don't know which offer you're going to be the best fit for. So if you'd like our help with X, Y, and Z, go ahead and book a call with me today. You should ideally be able to get to a 30 to a 40% call booking rate, let's say a CVR conversion rate on the free call with, I would say, no price drop. And then if we say free call with price drop, that's going to obviously decrease your conversion rate, but it will increase the qualification of the calls that you're getting booked. I do not recommend you go straight for this. I think this should be in order. Your first time ever, like there's a lot of things you're learning with stage presentations. This should be priority number 1 is the free calls with no price drop. Go do as many of the sales calls as possible, record them all, put them in Fathom, put them in some sort of a note taker, and then go put those transcripts back into a learning language model, a good old LLM, whether it's Chat or Claude or whatever, and have them transcribe everything and put together the top objections, the top questions, the top buying reasons, the top aspirations, the top desires, the top pain points of all of the one-on-one conversations you had from these sales calls. And then you can weave that information back into your presentation the next time you host this thing. And once again, like this becomes a flywheel for you to get better and better and better. So then you do free calls with the price drop. You should ideally be able to get these things to the point where you're doing 20 to maybe even 30% if you're a pro, 20 to 30% CVR, where you're saying, hey, it's, $10,000 to work with us, fully transparent. We don't work with everyone and we're not willing to just take your money just because you have the money. This is actually have to be a good fit for you. And so standard process here, you submit a quick application, book a call with us, and let's see if this makes sense for you. If so, great. We'll figure out a way that this, that we can, whether it's a payment plan or you pay in full or whatever, we could figure out a way that this would work with your budget. And if not, no big deal. We probably have a couple other things we could service you with as well. Anyway, now they're booking calls, knowing the price. It is going to decrease your conversion rate. But once again, it should make you more efficient on the calls. It's going to get much, much better calls booked for you or much higher intent. Then you get to move on forward. You continue to record all those calls. You continue to gather all of the objections that are getting asked, the questions that are getting asked, all of those reasons for buying, all of the pain points that they have, etc. Put those back into your presentation. Keep doing this until it's converting ideally until you're at the 20 to 30% range. But once you're there, then you probably have enough data and you're probably a good enough stage presenter that you could then start to do one of my absolute favorites is the deposit model. Deposits are where you do a price drop and you say, look, it's $10,000 to work with us. However, if you're looking to get started today, The only thing you have to do today is pay a fully refundable, whether it's a $500 or $1,000 refundable deposit. And when you pay that deposit, it's going to redirect you to our calls, or I'm sorry, to our calendar. You can book a call with us and we can talk about if this makes sense for you or not. If it makes sense, great. We'll apply your $1,000 or your deposit to the full cost of the enrollment, and we can talk about the best payment plan and get you enrolled from there. If it doesn't make sense, no big deal at all. We'll happily refund your money. We're not in the business of taking people's money and not delivering value. And so that way it's a no risk way of being able to get really financially qualified people on the calls. If you think about it like this, it's similar to booking a reservation at a nice Michelin star restaurant. Oftentimes you do have to put a credit card on file, and you understand that you will be charged if you don't show up. But if you show up, you're just going to pay the bill regardless. They're no better off, no worse off, etc. They're just making sure that they don't have a bunch of no-shows that take up spots in the restaurant that could have otherwise been given to paying customers. So anyway, that's the deposit model. And then obviously at some point you can go straight for the kill, straight for the jugular there, and you just go straight to the checkout for the full cost of the enrollment. Most I've ever personally done this for is for $15,000 pay in full offers. So these are not, this is on a 2-day event, fully transparent. Like, I will practice what I preach. So I did a 2-day event back in 2025, and on day 2, on hour number 2, I said, hey, here's how we can help you. And it's a $15,000 offer. There is no payment plan option. There is no way to book a call with me. You're buying it or you're not buying it. I don't care either way. It's up to you. The right people will buy it. The wrong people won't. And I was very just confident and direct in that pitch. And so that's how I structured it. And it worked really, really well. However, I don't always do that because you do leave a lot of money on the table. And so I like to do deposits. That's my personal favorite at this stage in my journey. However, I'm not saying start there. Do not start there. I'm not recommending at all you I am recommending you, if you're going to do this in general, whether it's webinars or not, start with a free call. It's the lowest friction model you could possibly get, and you could always get better. And once again, this is not about going for a quick win overnight. This is about getting on base. This is about getting that base hit and then continuing to get on base and continuing to see how can I get better and better and better every time I get back up to bat. Now, when we look at promoting these events, these are usually going to be longer promo cycles. So meaning you could actually spend considerably more money filling these events up. These events should be significantly larger because unlike a webinar, you're not going to be able to fill up the entire thing and be pumped with your attendance within a matter of 2 or 3 days. You oftentimes will want 3, maybe if you're really crazy, even 4 weeks to promote. But my personal favorite, we've tested out, 7 days, we've tested out 10 days, 14 days, 21 days, 30 days. We've tested out 6 weeks before. Our absolute favorite sweet spot is somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks. Your first time ever hosting this event, you don't know how your sales page is going to convert, and you don't know which ads are going to work the best. So I like to do a 3-week long promo period. So a 3-week promo is a sweet spot for your first time. And then once you have a sales page that's converting really well, you know what the conversion rate is, you know what the show rate is, you know that it attracts the right people, you know which ad angles are going to work well. Then you can cut it down to a 2-week promo period, because as you get closer to the event, naturally the higher your sales page conversion rate will go up, and you'll be able to get more efficient cost per purchases, or CPAs. So anyway, 3-week promo for tickets. And when you do this, unlike the the cheap CPAs or CPLs, oftentimes you're going to pay somewhere between 3 and 5 times more to get someone to buy a ticket as compared to signing up for your free presentation. So for example, we had a client who was doing these pretty regularly, and their cost to generate a $7 ticket was around $150 on ad spend. And they tried out a free model as well. For the exact same presentation, they said, hey, fill out this calculator. Let's make sure you're essentially financially qualified to buy our back-end offer. And if so, great, you'll qualify for a free ticket. And they tried that, and they had a 3 times lower cost per lead. So they went from a $150 CPA on their $7 tickets to a $48 to a $50 cost per lead. However, when they did that, the back-end cost to acquire a client was significantly different, right? So when they were selling tickets, just so you're aware, when they were selling tickets, the $7 model, while it was 3 times more expensive to get people to buy a ticket, it ended up being 2 times cheaper to enroll. If we look at the cost to generate a client, they were paying about $1,700 to $1,800 to get those people in total ad spend, to get one of those people to then buy their back end program. which was a multi-$1,000 program. Call it $1,700, $1,800. As compared to the free model, even though they had 3 times as many people sign up, it was 3 times more efficient on the front end. They paid $3,600 to get those people to buy the back-end program. So it ended up being way more profitable to pay a little bit more to acquire a paying customer, because those paying customers showed up at a much higher rate and they also purchased at a much higher rate in the back end. So once again, couple things to just keep in mind here. So 3-week promo period for tickets, and expect a little bit higher, expect higher CPAs for ticket sales. And once again, you've got to financially model this out. So go put this into a financial modeling calculator and figure out, like, hey, if you spend $30,000 or $50,000 or shoot $10,000 on ads, and this is your cost per lead, or this is your cost per registrant, and this is your estimated show rate, and this is your estimated close rate from your pitch, and this is your price point, here's how much money you're going to make. You should financially model that out for a webinar as well as for a paid virtual event, understanding, once again, difference in show rates and difference in conversion rates. And oh, by the way, for the deposits, I forgot to put this down. On the minimum, you should be at 10%. Ideally as high as 20 to even 25%. I've seen 25% on the higher end from some of our better clients for the deposits. And for the checkout, really the only reason I would suggest doing this is if you're charging like 5 to 6K. Anything much higher than that, I would still probably encourage you to do a deposit model. But, checkout model, I would say on the low end, 5, and then we will do upwards of, honestly, the highest I've ever seen was 20%. So you are going to almost always have a better conversion rate on these paid virtual events because people are paying to be there. They're more financially qualified. They're a higher intent. They're going to show up at a higher rate, and you're spending more time with them, breaking more beliefs, kind of shifting the way they think, shifting the way they operate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these are just a few things to take into consideration if you are contemplating between webinars or paid virtual events. Ultimately, though, if you're looking at like a time bandwidth, you need to commit, really, if you want to get good at these things. For webinars, you're going to have to do them about, at minimum once a week. But ideally, if you're really trying to get good and you're really trying to have efficient show rates, you're going to have to do these about twice a week, every single week, for a long period of time before you start to get good. As compared to paid virtual events, usually we see people do these somewhere between 1, 2, and 3 times before they really start to crack the code. And when I say 1, 2, and 3 times, this is not every week. This is once a month. Okay, so you're still looking at, like, if you're going to commit to selling one-to-many and a new sales process to sell your higher ticket service in a one-to-many fashion, it's still likely going to take from right now, if you've never done this ever before, to designing your presentation, filling up the room, making sure it's likely to convert, doing a proper debrief, and maybe even hosting it again. It's likely going to take, at least a month from now, maybe even 2 months from now before you really start to crack the code. So as the old Chinese proverb says, best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time is today. So I encourage you, hopefully you can implement one of these into your business model, depending on which one you feel is right for you. Let me know in the comments if you have any specific questions. I'd be more than happy to answer. I do personally read and respond to every single comment on the old YouTube channel. So hopefully this is helpful for you. If you got any value from this, once again, hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications. We have videos like this every single Tuesday and Friday. So cannot wait to see you in the next video. And obviously, if you're a returning subscriber, welcome on back. If you're getting value from these, please share this with someone from your team, with someone in a mastermind group that you're in, any other entrepreneur that would get some fruit out of this. Please share this with someone that that this would just massively value them today. So that's about all we have for you today. Can't wait to see y'all in the next video. Till then, peace.